So let's call to order the meeting of the Dave Douglas School Board on Thursday, October 23rd at 6:03 p.m. And begin with our Native American land acknowledgement. Today we want to begin our meeting in our school year by acknowledging that we gather as David Douglas School District on the traditional land of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, Bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, and many other tribes past and present who made their homes along the Columbia and Willamette rivers, and honoring with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it through the generations. We want to further acknowledge the impact of the forced removal, violence, and attempted erasure of the lives and legacies of Indigenous people, past and present, and to commit to creating an educational environment that honors Indigenous history and contributions and encourages the continual pursuit of better stewardship of the land we inhabit as well. And next we have consent agenda. Yes, please.
I move approval.
Okay. Second. Great. Is there any discussion? Purchasing, anything like that? Pat's, no questions from Pat?
Thank you for Pat.
Thank you, Pat. All right, let's vote. Beginning with Director Stevenson. Oh, sorry, I skipped Director
Ender, aye.
Stevenson, aye. Joe Mary Georgeton, aye.
Epstein, aye. Stevens, aye.
Jordan, aye. All right, then aye. Okay. And then Ken?
Yes. Yes. And I would like to know, say Pat, which I know Pat really appreciates that, so thank you. But I want to extend a thank you back to the board as well. I know workshops, we don't always do action items. This is one of those times where contracts kind of coming in fast and furious, and the time just really makes sense. So thank you for your flexibility and willing to kind of work with us on that, because it does make a difference. It's very important. We're moving forward and we continue construction projects, so really appreciate that. So this evening's workshop, my understanding is we're going to go somewhere in the neighborhood of 6:30, and then we are going to break for executive session. I believe most of the room's going to leave other than board and Lori, but until then, the opportunity this evening is to talk about strategic plan. And we know that our strategic plan is coming to an end this year. As I've kind of had some light conversation with the board, our intention is to look at our current strategic plan, integrated plan, and equity plan, and try to roll them into somewhat of a shell of a strategic plan, and then go out to our community. So as a cabinet team, that's what we've been doing. As a cabinet team, we've been coming together, putting together what we think is a shell, we're calling it a shell, because we really want feedback, right? This doesn't do a lot of good for us to necessarily say, here's our strategic plan, we need to get community feedback. But we've put together something so there's a starting point, rather than just starting at zero, because we have these plans already, and we believe a lot of the direction we're heading is the right direction. So we're grounding our work there, and then now we're ready to kind of talk about next steps. But before we launch that, we want to get it in front of the board and kind of talk to the board about what we did, why we did it, how we did it, and then really have you dig in and kind of play with us a bit, right? Ask some key questions that we're going to provide, and then ultimately at the end of the night, yes, we're ready, we're missing this looks great, we got to double down on this, and then talk about how we're going to develop a communication plan and input plan throughout the district. So the really, you are the test subject, right? We're test driving a little bit to get some information from the board. Where can we get better? Where can we bolster? And how do we move forward? So what I'm going to do here in about 10 seconds is turn it over to Ida, and Ida is going to walk us through, if you think about community input, community partnerships, Ida is going to take a leadership role on a lot of how we roll this out and how we can input. So tonight she's going to probably say what I just said a lot better than I could say. So you'll hear a little bit of a repeat, and then walk us through what we put together to get input. And then we'll end the session tonight actually doing some conversations. And we're going to break into smaller groups, 2 groups of board members to kind of just talk things through. So Ida, you're up.
Yep, thank you. As Ken mentioned, so thank you. As Ken mentioned, we do have 3 plans. We have a strategic plan that's coming to an end. We have our equity plan, and we have our integrated plan. We submitted our outcomes and strategies to ODE. So as a cabinet team, we were reviewing all three plans, and we noticed that all the 3 plans have similar goals or similar priorities. The priorities are, equity center, well-rounded education, healthy and safe, and safety, just well-being, social emotional well-being, community and community engagement. So what we're gonna do today, before we break into groups, we want to go over just a brief overview of what a strategic plan is and what it's not. Because, our goal is to align all three plans so we can meet our long-term goals, so we have a clear direction to what we're going, instead of having to go through multiple plans. So a strategic plan is a roadmap that should guide our work as a district, should guide our work so we can meet our long-term goals. Their goal should align with our vision, our mission, and our core values, setting those priorities as a district that will lead us to meet our goals. But also the part of the strategic plan is adding indicators. How are we going to measure our goals to make sure that we're meeting those goals that we're setting. So a strategic plan is big picture. We don't have to get into specifics because that's what we do on our end, where we take the goal and the objectives and we develop a plan to meet those goals and objectives. So the strategic plan is not driven by one goal, it's not driven by one person, it's not driven by one department, but it's a collective. As I mentioned earlier, the strategic plan should not include everything that we do. That we had lots of conversations with cabinet where we do so many things outside of this. And the strategic plan should not be a list, a checklist of all the things that we do. And it should not be left on the shelf either, because this is our roadmap. We are going to break into groups. So everyone has, not this one, everyone has this, and I apologize, I didn't realize that I printed this wrong, so when you flip the pages, you're gonna have to, yeah. So this is a very simple initial plan that we develop as a cabinet team. So what we would like to do today is break into two groups. I have assigned the two groups, and we will have note takers, so we can collect all the feedback and input. When we're breaking into groups, we want to address any questions that you might have, identify any potential gaps that maybe we didn't see. Clarity, it's also an opportunity to provide some clarity. And answer any questions. So the groups are, I have board chair Franklin. It's group number 1 with board member Stevenson, Jordan, Ken, Brooke, and Pat. And Brooke will be taking notes. And then the second group is board vice chair Jose Lamero Gibson with board member Epstein, board member Stevens, board member Ender, Mr. Long, Florence, and I will join that team as well. Now, we're gonna come back around 7:15, because we know that we have to be done by 7:30. We'll come back by 7:15, so we can share next steps. And also it's an opportunity for the board to share with the group any highlights or anything that, they want to point out for everyone. Any questions before we begin?
We'll stay in here, I take it?
Yeah, we'll stay in here. We'll just break into two groups.
So if we wanted to,
Yeah, we have,
Yeah.
I was gonna say we could go across, but
Yeah,
probably.
we can probably just push the tables to the side.
Okay.
And we can break into groups. Okay?
Okay.
Any other questions?
So that I know we had some guiding questions.
We do have some guiding questions.
Are you gonna put those on the overhead or?
The note takers are gonna read.
Oh, they have.
Yeah, they
okay,
have the-
perfect, perfect. Sounds
Yeah, so Florence and Brooke, they have some guiding questions, some prompts to start the conversation, to discuss and analyze, review our initial plan.
So you mentioned that we have the strategic plan and we have our equity plan, we have, these 3 bodies of work. And right now, we're just focusing on the strategic.
So what we did as a
This
cabinet.
is a summary.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's a summary of what we're putting together.
Okay, so we don't have to have a separate equity plan, maybe we'll have an implementation.
Yes.
Goals, but yeah.
So, yeah, strategic plan is a big picture. And then the implementation plan or the action plan, that's separate. That's something that we would develop with Ken and cabinet team. And of course, with the board maybe.
Great.
Any other questions?
And I take it you two are facilitating each group? Is that kind of
The note takers.
no, broken?
The note takers. Yeah, the note
Not
takers
Ken
have
and
the
Ian.
prompt.
You kind of,
Well, yes, I will help facilitate the one group and the other group, I think Florence and Andy
Yeah,
and.
Florence and me, we will facilitate the
Oh,
second part.
I thought I was just taking notes, but okay.
You're facilitating.
I was
Is
like,
there competition? What, is there?
I think group two is the best.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'll take notes.
The better notes.
all right, how do we do
Where do
this?
we want to go?
Okay, so maybe.
Florence and I.
Yeah, so we want another group to be over on this side, this corner.
Okay, so
And then
Mr. Long,
you're on that side.
So.
Deputy's ready.
Right here in the corner.
Are we gonna leave you square or to stay along?
I think we should kind of
Taking my food.
get on opposite sides, otherwise it's a little, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Push chairs back.
Thanks, Pat. Are you part of this you?
I did, I was like, oh, taking notes, taking notes. No, I was gonna take notes. I need I mean, I could ask. I don't plan. I mean, I'm sorry.
This document is new. I'm gonna these two different.
Yeah, so maybe we wanna just take a minute to review it, or even to like the pillars that we
Board
have.
members, if you want to take a few minutes to review the proposals, I included our vision, this vision.
Just to read it, you don't have to read details, at least you get, I think that word is great. If you notice, kind of a couple things, one is our mission, our vision at the top.
And everyone
and
has.
our core values. We're gonna change those at all.
Oh, we did. I have like,
And then down below, we have 4 specific pillars. And you can see those pillars as you go through. There will be
Oh,
statements on each one of those.
I'm gonna go look for those.
Pencil is fine.
They're, yes, they're from our,
From in front of them with that, but you'll see each one of the pillars has a goal and then some strategies and indicators.
So what are you doing right now?
so we're just reviewing our vision, our mission, and our core values.
Just reading the whole thing and then go back to each one separately.
Yeah, and the parts that are part of our integrated plan that are required by ODE are indicated on, it will say integrated plan. So you
Oh, I
can see, yeah,
So I was wondering what that was.
yeah. And then just so you guys, as you're reading them, the questions or guiding questions that we have are, do the goals, strategies, and indicators to like the alignment of our mission and vision? Is this clear to you? Or is there anything that like, what does this mean? Because we really want it to be clear to our whole community. Are these the right targets? Have we missed anything or not identified? And then questions and feedback. So kind of as you're reading about those questions.
Already.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what we did, our certificate plan has 4 pillars, 4 foundational pillars, as I mentioned earlier. So we decided to keep the 4 pillars because the certificate, our integrated plan has the same company goals. What we did, we have 4 pillars here. The first one, we did update the language for a few of the pillars. For example, pillar number one, we have equity, belonging, and student voice. For pillar number two, we have, instead of well-rounded education, we have student learning, growth, and achievement. Focusing on that, high quality instruction. Pillar number three, we have community engagement. And then the last pillar is healthy and safe environment. So for pillar number one, we will have an equity segment for each pillar. So we are still we will be using the equity segments that we use for our equity planners. We're still finalizing those. So we have a goal under each of the pillars. And then under each goal, we have a strategy that would help us reach that goal. But those strategies are aligned with the integrated plan outcomes that the integrated plan strategies that we submitted to ODE. They also align with some of the goals from our equity plan and our certificate. And then right below, we have indicators. And those are how we're going to measure if we are meeting those strategies and ultimately meeting them. So, I'll give you a few minutes to do a quick overview.
Did anyone have questions on the values though? Because I did have one of them.
Oh, thank you. There are some of the questions that we're going to use.
And do you want us to look at just the first pillar?
You know, if you want to review all pillars, because some of the prompt questions that we have, the goals, the strategies, and the indicators align with our mission and vision, and for our priorities.
So, if you were to just go back and kind of go through these pillars, that over that conversation of kind of what we're hoping to do, so if you look at that first, so things around student goals, can explain that equity statement, why that's not there. But if you look at our goal strategy indicator, these questions, is it anything that stands out, concerns, wonders, thoughts, suggestions?
I think that is being integrated. We talk about it, part on it, but that's really big, and that's what we're required to do by the state.
I have a question.
So, I think that's a big driver.
Because we decided not
What
to
you
see
see
it,
here, right, so,
but I feel like a lot of things here say things that.
I think this is the key thing. It's, it's
So
all these
do we
programs
have
that we used to
Separately.
and then the state came together, and then I think for all the common, we had all these common administrators, these plans, and we're writing, we're doing all this work separately, so like, how can we make this
Our
an
own
integrated plan? And so they give us the indicators, which is really neat. That's what we're required to really work on, so, yeah, so that's why there's so much.
Are we asking questions properly?
This is aligning with the new, kind of way we're asking citizen.
That's
It's hard to answer.
Yeah. You
So we are
align with the integrated plan. So that's why that second indicator.
So we're developing.
That has so much. That was a very good chapter for our integrated plan, is how we measure, right?
Yeah.
And,
We can still make it.
every 2 years, when we talk about it,
We will.
every
And
2
you
to 4,
said that they
2 to 4 years, we're going to do it.
Presentation.
But that language is strategic. Yeah. Exactly.
So if you're ready, not quite, okay.
Yeah, we're starting at the first goal, we're going to those things.
I was gonna say, I read this as has a lot of focus on high school, and I'm trying to imagine how an elementary school can participate in this as far as like student base and everything. I get that high school, I get middle school, but I don't see that full boils necessarily, and it's ordered where it's, I think a little bit different. I think the student voices can be differently than I think would be reflected here, especially if one of the indicators is increase of student participation and leadership in equity groups. I don't know if any elementary schools which happen, I just don't really think I'm interested in that. Something like that.
Some do. Gilbert Park is 2001, or was from last year.
And it would be cool to see elementary schools do it really.
I would absolutely agree that it's a challenge, not as prevalent, so the intention of having leadership teams at the elementary schools and the equity teams, we do have some elementary that have them, still pretty fresh and launched, but this was, the intention is driving that we do better.
Yeah.
But But yeah, I agree. It might, where's that? It actually, I mean, transparent. Even the high school, we have leadership there, but it really came, how does that voice turn into a role? You know, I think teams do better across the board. We definitely have teams that how do that really have a voice that helps with the decision or spread.
And there's some surveys, you know, we used to do it, we're not doing it this year, there's a state survey that's a
No, you're right.
survey of mass, but it still gets some element of elementary voice. And then like, for example, even though it's not like a group committee, but like when we do a curriculum adoption, we do
I have
ask the
another
kids.
general.
You like better, this program or this program, so it's not like a,
I agree.
But we do try
Not
and
having all the
bring it
plans
in
or
ways.
putting it down.
but I agree, we should.
Also, I've seen a lot of places get rid of equity. I don't want it to seem like that, right? So just, I don't know if it's so much question or we can be very clear. It's like something to make it not seem like we're going the way a lot of places are going. And I know that's
The
not.
second indicator, the, reporting sense of belonging and trust and ability, is that measured on seed?
Well,
I did notice
yes,
that
and
these
we are
are
also
underrepresented
in district surveys,
Yeah,
so
and
that's
actually,
something.
but we don't ever use the child race, and we
Back to
don't
the
talk,
lead.
we don't talk
So
about
our
any of
attention
the,
is at
the things that are in our actual equity plan, and that, I don't know if that's purposeful, because we're trying to stay under the radar of certain people in the White House.
Yeah. So
Or
the
it's
eligible
just
makes
not.
sense. I mean,
Because I think that needs to be called
We're
out.
also on tenure views of that.
So we do have that equity statements that will
Yeah, maybe that,
hopefully pop
maybe that
when
will,
we get them in.
Yep.
But I hear you, Jose, and I think that's what we're,
that's not how you.
yeah,
We
no.
had long conversations about making sure that in our, we're not putting equity in something else, but how do we and then
At the core, we
Secondary or
100%
strategies
agree. I just think
well,
what's
or just all of
I
it.
think the heads up to them, I read about that. So
Yeah.
that's the word. Goal.
And the injury, because they can show up and also statements about, yeah.
Okay.
Similar, like, rules comment here, we've got a lot of things around gaps for student groups. Some places we say all focal groups, so just student groups, sort of marginalized.
Yeah.
Unless they mean something different.
Yeah.
In the concept or just, you know, pick a phrase that really describes what you know. Okay, that's how we're gonna measure this, that's how we're gonna measure it, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Or they do mean different things, like say what it means.
Yeah.
Where were those at on the?
And it's
throughout, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
probably because that's how you were phrasing it.
That's how we were phrasing it in our integrated plan.
Yeah.
Well, we just did track TV, you were there, you know.
But we'll be consistent.
Yeah.
Because it's
It's
gonna
like,
provide different.
here's this try, but I don't know, it's the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay, so thank you for taking notes.
So there's a rule about.
So now,
I
know
voting.
You have been getting the time to review
I don't seem to have
the initial plan,
struggles with now.
but do
It's
the goals
voting on things.
around these indicators, do they align?
Yeah.
I do wonder about like
A little bit.
Son has leadership sometimes that my kiddo is in, and I have no idea.
I think probably just because it's out in my mind from the last you talked to me about it, but
I'm curious what that.
honoring, like, we do kind of touch on it, but
I've seen
honoring
it,
that they are
we used to see it in
integrated
water
environment,
boils
that
and
we
we
feel
just have
well
those for
supported and
They
also
have,
well, like offering
like,
them
kids signed up to do
opportunities
classes.
for professional development.
Yeah.
And that this is like a place to work and integrating
I
something.
think they call it ambassadors, and we got the dogs into the school, spirit assembly.
It's definitely
stuff like
student
that.
centered,
Yeah.
which we are, I know, but if I'm a staff member and I pick this up, I think they might think, what about the
I'm excited to see the schools.
big part of this?
It's very pulled out in the,
meet
plan, right, the staff. And,
trying to do
it is, it's just not very, yeah, it's not as explicit, I didn't see anything about workforce development, training.
There's a little bit about IED, but
And these four pillars are this way because they match the four pillars.
integrated plan. And the integrated plan is very just students, not staff. Who we have a big pillar, that is about staff and how much they're about staff. It doesn't matter if it's integrated plan, it's just.
And there's an equity statement there where we have.
Yep.
We can pull that up. I also agree with that, and, I'm
But I
wondering
don't
if
know.
we can get slight alteration for one of the titles, instead of community engagement, family engagement. Community engagement to me, and family is part of it, but specifically.
And I think not, but it's, because all these things are hard.
Actually, I made a, and I made a note of that here. Yeah, I did, yeah.
So I think generally they align, if it's a yes or no question.
Especially we got a pillar that follows staff. Because I remember students that are foundation, will want to make sure our staff is to do well and happy and kind of really show that.
Yes. Well, without that, we're not much.
Yes.
We need the staff to feel safe
Yes,
and
we did the
prepared,
all the other pillars more.
engaged.
I'm also wondering, why do you feel like with your lives, is that, I'm not sure how that fits in with all of our different documents, but, I do wonder if
But those are all.
highlight that a little bit more as like honoring students for their effort.
I think with 90 days, and when we get to the second
Kind
slide,
of do, but we're at least kind
so
of like
many,
dance around it a
you know,
little,
yes,
like
we're doing
different
all
social
these, I think
needs,
just something
educational
we really
needs,
struggle
but like
with
being
is
more
explicit
about we are dedicated to
things that are really.
of all abilities,
really
physical,
big, and each one of these has a function behind it, right? And so some of these are say, like, what's being raised to you, it might be different. So is less
We
more?
discussed it a little
Do we
bit.
list everything we're doing? I think those are conversations we've really struggled with.
And identifying
Where do we pick those?
students with disabilities, talent, students experiencing homelessness, like we really start breaking it down. Or do we say for students, and do we really say on there? Prioritizing our language as every single one of our students.
I'm
So
of
that
the
was, that
position
kind of
of
came up,
to
and
see it.
definitely can
How do
highlight
you
that.
have the amount? That says, when you say all, and then break it down like that, in a sentence.
Like, what does that mean?
Yes, I think that might be enough.
Interpretation for each school to feel comfortable creating their own vision and
I
plan
just
that.
feel like, I don't wanna work backwards
to
at
that,
like
but
what we're
I feel
doing so well and put it in
But
the plans that we're
it's
doing.
valuable to
I
have kind of
do
different,
think we are really,
you know, be
you know,
advice.
CIEB, like,
Experiences
we're
with
working so
However, you just
well
work, it's fine.
and kind of bringing these
That it's
educational and
appropriate
system
to
training
each
that,
site.
and I'm really proud of that, and I want that to be like that.
Like
This
the
is
ability
something
to
we're
feel like
prioritizing
they
together.
can do what they think is best within their
That's
school
sort of
without
you
you
have to be better at
told.
all of us around us, because that's what I hear the most
They
from
think, you know,
teachers that
their
come into
school.
the district. Is that they have so much more support.
Hopefully that'll stay.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Yeah.
So Sarah, can you talk more about when you say, what is, I want to hear that, like, in the crowd,
How could I?
is that
we
like
do?
the
Or even like
SLC program, is that what you
we
do,
just
just right?
train our IT, my IT departments, like what do we do to achieve
Or you see it in the vision, what was that again?
I think it should be just so we've
different for IT
we've
versus teaching us venture.
expanded the program of kiddos with
Yeah, we talked about that.
and I'm just proud that we are really focusing on training of the educational assistants and stuff that when I hear
It
them
might look
growing,
different.
and this kind of goes back to building staff capacity, when I hear that they're attending trainings, growing their knowledge of how to support the kids.
And even not even.
Therefore, kind of like the messaging
Yeah.
on that, I think that that's it's a two-way system.
Yeah,
Our
for sure.
growing and
Sounds
our
good.
staff.
Space for kids to grow, and
So I
space for kids
see
to
kind
grow.
of,
In this board specifically,
Yeah.
Whether it's this, or it's on the strategic. program, I think this board should start really having these conversations about how do we get short-term, long-term, how we can look at it.
this conversation is so
So,
different.
we talked about unique
Finding
We
these
have
and
no
activities
just
that
about
I've had
room for students to grow, and kind of what that
like
looks like.
that.
We
You're so new.
Just that you were able to explain that. it's great to, and it's great to hear that people are sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's, that was really awesome.
Yeah.
And that is awesome, I think it's possible, often day, but on the other flip side of the coin, I'm going
Yeah.
ours,
If it's a strat plan, then
but they recommend to me, as a board member, to share the heart sometimes,
And we have to
and
do
time the
that.
other side of that.
We didn't even try it and
Some
that,
educators
that,
feel less.
just for the
supported,
three,
like,
but we
they're doing
could,
what's
we
happening
could
at
get.
Heart, which I think is just similar, students all needs levels and height, feelings, and their what. This is, you're going, yeah.
Have you,
We're digging
But
into it.
that's
have you talked to the
students have
teachers that do those
making
classes
sure
for other,
students have tried the
The
education.
teachers, like,
like,
I guess
the ones
they
that-
do the other teachers.
the other teachers, because I've talked to some of the
But also like.
teachers that are in those
Like,
classrooms,
he was
and
saying
they're
belonging
actually
to
liking
staff,
that they're all together. Because they have a lot more things they can do, and they find they have more support, and it's good for them to be able to talk to each other. And some of these teachers were very skeptical, you know, like, but they understood why, but, you know, and so far, they love it. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's a perfect thing, yes, they will always want more support, there's always more things we can grab.
We can always get money.
But the teachers know what's like, you know, they're not, you know, so they often consider it.
Yeah.
But it's important to know what the other teachers are
Again, not that this is right or wrong, but the, health and safety.
And yeah, I think this goes back, definitely, both of the things that we're trying to do here, one, serving all students, with what we have, how we have it, supporting,
I don't know, that's
staff,
totally
the
captured.
training,
but
or whatever,
Yes.
support their daily.
We did have a lot of conversation. Yeah, we were
Trained,
one at a time, so.
Learning, you can do practically, and then you can do feedback, so,
Students got.
yes, I see that. I got like marking like PD, this is where your professional learning
Yeah,
development.
there is a lot of that.
We're doing really student focused.
Yeah, I'm not seeing yet where I would change that, but keeping that, knowing that that could be like raised up almost as a pillar to acknowledge that ongoing process. Supporting the folks who maybe have,
Get the staff and the students.
are in that position to make decisions.
I'm also curious about, and there is probably concern in this, attendance being, was of the goal of a healthy and safe environment. And thinking about attendance as it relates to achievement. And I think that it can, like it impacts the outcome.
How
But,
that's
I
indicated that
think,
being.
maybe having that,
Right.
I'm thinking as I go, I know the indicators, if they're under one goal or another, it doesn't necessarily have my weight, but I think that having indicators that are associated with attendance,
That's 15.
strategy,
Yeah. that.
of goals.
Student learning growth and achievement. This is back and forth. My right hand works here, brings on this. I get a lot of integrated points.
The last part of the goal, the achievement
I had
gap,
hard facts to
opting and check the gaps, I don't see an indicator.
did know,
That,
How we measure that?
yeah, how that's measured.
Sometimes we mark
Increase
attendance.
in an overall is not gonna
Because
capture
if kids don't.
a gap.
They're not gonna go to school.
Oh.
It kind of, you don't think of it that way, I know I didn't until we had it there, we had it there before. And it's okay, I get that, but they're not, it's gonna be a lot more harder for them to become this pillar if they're not there. Particularly in private ed.
We've been trying to do that.
I almost think it's like, be a good call, putting in the belong.
That too.
They belong there.
Yep.
So
A lot of.
we definitely
Yep.
talked about that. We just-
Attendance is important enough to be in almost.
Yeah.
You can have a 6 day, have a 6 day. It's true, because it's very universal, it fits in all. Yeah.
One thing I
That's the
noticed,
question, I don't think,
pre-K is mentioned in this whole document,
I did ask
and
you. what do you mean?
all data shows that the younger kids start school, the better they are.
The first end goal, all students will grow and achieve that high.
Because in my opinion, don't think like the pre-K should be treated as curious, should be part of school.
If there's a big.
All kids are just, they're not just getting part. But that's something else.
But
I
then
think we should mention, because it's, those kids that go to pre-K for 2 years and come into school, do that cheap, they just, they do that.
Just like grade level.
I would like to see that
And then
in the
so
student
who's,
growth and achievement pillar. There's a bullet
how do you measure, one, what's high
point,
level?
dedicate comprehensive resources to ensure successful transition.
To
And
say.
I think we should add early learning to kindergarten.
I
Is that
would.
even
Elementary, there's a transition in
Yeah.
elementary school.
Well,
And
so
we're
I would
seeing this,
personally
because we
define
have some of our
that
youngest
maybe
students
has
that
to
are
be
coming.
Robert, how I personally define it is we all have grade level standards.
So I would love to see
And those are
some
listed
type
in
of
here, but to
transition
be able
there.
to do
Early,
at
I don't-
grade level.
It's pillar
So we
two.
say,
Yeah,
I
to
stand
student
for
learning growth and
standards
achievement.
so that
It's more
they
talking
are
transitions,
meeting
elementary.
or even
I'd
their
love for us to
opportunity
move to
to
the
exceed
cycle
those
and have
standards.
all of
Just
these kids
sometimes,
at the elementary school, they're
you know,
getting.
when students are coming in and they're below grade level, how are we accelerating their learning rather than unintentionally saying, oh, they don't know how to do that yet, so we're gonna, you know, focus on this and not, know how do we get them to that high level is
Voice of
actually
reason.
grade level. So we did, that's
Spirit.
how and that's measured by our students, which is really big.
Better for 7.
Grade level.
Yeah, we can define that better.
Or student.
It's a higher dosage.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
That's why if you heard me laugh out loud.
High dosage,
I know how frequency. Yeah, high dosage sounds
To public.
like.
where are you at?
It's number 2. Pillar number 2.
Maybe,
But I don't need that.
silly.
Oh, I see it.
Talk about wording.
Well,
That's why we're here.
but if you imagine,
Uh,
our staff's gonna ask, what is
I'm
that?
sure it's
We don't want
a
anyone,
term apart.
I don't really know.
It's,
I don't use that a whole lot. I think it can be integrated.
we use it for,
Yeah, I heard a bunch of.
And actually, that's one of the questions we have, you know, is this clear? Because we wanted to share this with our community when we're doing engagement and, you know, stakeholder
Public
engagement.
education is.
Those are things that we need to look at, that make sense.
The opportunity to get education. and
If I have to add,
I agree.
Is there like a specific thing that we call to high dosage, does it have to be like a certain amount of times they get it to cross the line from regular tutoring to high dosage? And that's a serious.
I don't.
I don't think we should high dosage.
Is it a thing?
But what is the specific
Oh,
thing?
is it a thing?
I don't think we do it.
Yeah.
If it is, I don't know about it, so I'm a little bit.
I think
I
still
don't know, you know,
Okay, we told the state that, but we don't need to go to.
okay, we can scratch it. And then, I think that's a good question that I can follow up with.
How do we tap into that?
Yeah.
So it's not just, oh, it's public
One-
education, and I think you're saying, it's
It
just-
could be.
No,
So
it
here's
is.
the line, it's like, how we challenge ourselves.
High dosage tutoring.
It's an intensive, evidence-based training intervention
See, everything.
that provides frequent, personalized support to students in very small groups.
I know,
Unlike traditional
but it's not
tutoring,
defined,
structure
I get what you're saying.
and consistency is shown to produce significant.
Just say
value.
small. Yeah. Tutoring is.
It's.
Nobody's gonna, we can't explain it.
It's like, that's not put up on us.
Our families are, they're gonna get
You just have to explain what it means. Okay, got it. It's in the notes. What is that? I think is what it says.
The one that I found in clear, you sort of mentioned it, but I'll just, this isn't like.
So all students will grow,
But in the,
at high level, so it kind of says that.
healthy and safe environment,
So,
strategy number 2.
I don't know if that, I don't know,
Clause that
grade
says
level
especially
or
focal
or
points.
either C
I don't
to.
Okay.
And it's always,
Yeah,
it's always
you might have
nuanced too, it's always,
focal
we do have students.
Focal, because you student, focal student.
And it has a reference to the integrated plan.
We also.
So they have a support.
how we should, right? We don't, it's like all years. That girl, she focuses on kids growing less.
Yeah. We talked about
Exactly.
Yeah, this award.
No, it's Bromar.
Probably needs points,
I think
so
that's
like
high
either
level is
response
that
it,
achievement
response
is
academic,
even more than
something
1
that is
year.
social emotional learning opportunity.
Would you be okay? I think if we did.
And the plan behind that
Exactly.
is literal.
No, we don't have to, we don't have to. What we did is,
So,
we took
you know,
the
this is one
these
thing.
and we submitted, and this is a good, it's good for us to hear this. We need to improve and develop.
A student doesn't know their letters.
Yeah, we looked at it
They
more.
can't be.
Because
Because give them the book and teach them the letters and their sounds. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes we unintentionally with the best of intentions.
April, we start with the verb because the other ones do and it just makes.
So how do we, and it's easier said than done.
So we're doing a job. Here's the provide and then it's specialist.
Where each
Just start with it, yeah. Just rephrase it.
Or all the different ways that has a similar title, not for.
That's just the way my brain talks about that.
Rather than
Yeah,
saying.
extremely collaboration.
I like it.
I like it,
Okay.
because, you know, one of the things that draws people to the charter school.
Sometimes
Yeah,
we do
the,
what I'm
you know,
saying,
half
is
jump,
like
they have 100% graduation rates, and they guarantee it, but they just don't, like charter or whatever, they just don't let them.
is I always
I think
try
that when you see that,
some
like,
things
that's
that
something
allows
that's
for
accountability, you
if
know,
there is
challenges that
a
we can't,
burgeoning,
like, have the standard for,
let's say
across the
we
board.
have COVID and then
You know,
cohort
or
of people are
the
having
overarching
higher,
goal is indicator,
like rate of
indicators
mental
about
issues, like
improvement,
the
basically.
flexibility in the
Modify
strategy to
gaps.
create like a new,
But I always goals
a new
as
approach
lofty
to a specific issue kind of, and I just wonder if
But we do want to
help me see this,
I don't want to
if there is like a social or a safety issue or something that comes up.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so
we
we
want to be
see
super clear.
Someone's high level
like,
is different
yeah,
than someone else's high level, and whatever
an approach or a
that is,
strategy
I think
to address that.
what- what-
Yeah, like if something
Not
happens in
everyone's
another
high
country, we
level.
have to influx of our
It
countries for
is
research.
pluses
They need
across the board.
like specific counseling,
Yeah.
we need to go to
That's kind of
services. Yeah,
But I think it doesn't line with the district responsibility, district two, and our mission, because, you know, we're talking about being everyone, being
I know,
But like, we're in emergencies right now, we have food issues.
If the mission is to provide that, then you should have, you know,
There should be
students ready that are
about being
fully supported.
more responsive to emergent needs. That's exactly the integration issues.
I can tell, like,
We will,
previous
we will
plan, we went on a lot, but where it landed, there wasn't an achievement.
Yeah.
And I think that, I know that's something we need to.
There are a few things that I really noted that were missing for me. And I don't know how the rest of the district feels about this, so let me just
And why we do it.
say that. But we talk a lot in achievement about the CE program, right? So the other program that is consistent with the and we don't track
Truly call out
that,
student
and we
growth,
don't
student
include
achievement.
it in CTE, and we don't track the outcomes problem that is clearly there when you go to college.
So, but we can definitely.
That
think about
This program doesn't match our
Because on one
student
hand,
population, and so
it's
there's
really
an
been
opportunity
difficult,
gap there, and
mechanical
I'm wondering if
DJ
we
and
do that in one of our parent indicator, or
have very
something,
specific.
you know,
If
as
you're
well
just
as
specific question is, how do you find your level?
Yeah, and
that's
actually,
consistent with
I
the
mean, I
data
definitely
that.
have, yeah. Our statistics kind of.
and I actually like expand
I
that
get what you're saying, yeah.
arts, like music, theater, and sports. All,
Any
any activity was kids are graduating like in 9 years.
Right.
That's just.
Yeah.
So we
That's
need to
true.
call that
It's
out.
not
It's not
No.
just, it's all.
theater,
All
arts,
students-
sports.
We should call those out.
Yeah.
Almost like, is there a way that we say, we recognize that it would be better when we have one trusted adult, right? It's like, it's better when they talk to things.
Yes, and it's true.
They want to.
We should all like.
All or nothing something in elementary school or learn just to be able
One
to
high
highlight.
level is one is different than others high
The
level.
other thing that I felt was missing was sort of goes into
That clarity going back to.
our visit here, is, in my opinion, every strategy needs to have some sort of indicator associated, and there are some missing. I just would, I don't have time to think about that right now, but like, in the next 15 or 20 minutes. But especially in the student learning and growth initiative, there's some that aren't there. And the first one, the one that really jumped out at me is in
Credits
the
have to
equity
get
fund
right, but
student
you
board
get, like, if
section,
we
right,
read it, you get to your
the
freshman year, you should
goal
have so many credits
is
to show
every
that
student
you're.
feel valued.
By the end of the year.
included in
Yeah.
the system of the student.
Yeah.
So we have something about.
Sorry.
No, please.
And
But we have
included
the
in our
at-risk,
school
like,
community, we have stuff there too.
Okay.
Embedded in
That's not
decision
here.
making, where we have the
We call
ability
sheets,
to
KPIs, keep.
engage in student in decision making, but we don't have
It's
a
so that
specific that says, what was the impact of that student voice? Did it change anything?
I mean, it's
Because a
true,
lot
we
of
don't
times
have
people look
it,
at student
in
voice
any
and
middle
it's
school
the checkbox within
except
it.
for math
And
outputs that are
the
measured.
increase in the number of student participation shows you, yes, we did it, but what was the impact of that? Like that it has an impact on, traceable impact on policy, on, increasing, I don't know exactly how to.
We talk about that a lot, it's like,
It's
it's like
hard
lost
to
between
do,
middle school and
but
high
I think
school.
it's
I wonder if we need
because it's one thing to ask, and another thing to actually have someone's voice matter. And it matters, and you take their voice and you.
where we get into this.
And if we're not, if we keep showing that it doesn't matter, we'll start to stop it.
And I know we do.
Well, they do seven
See it, and how.
I think in middle school, you was getting like
And
the report, card, they're on track to be.
the other thing that I felt was missing from these.
Well, it's KPIs, keep up with the indicators.
I think they have a
Starting to
at-risk
put
program,
our
measure like
strategies
from
are starting to
grade
put in place.
three.
Yeah.
Is equitable rating practices. And there should be something around that, and a target or an indicator, around equitable rating practices.
I don't know what the word.
Sometimes-
I mean, I think for me, it's just a lot of like, it's in the same, it's in the state assessments, but also it's in like
One thing I
their
wanted to
performance in middle
just
school,
add,
right?
I don't know how granular we get, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we fails middle
So it
school,
was the test.
regardless of the
Um,
classes, so you have this
So this is
huge
something
gap
that
in
can
expectations
call
that comes with getting out of a freshman right now, and it's like.
have like equity for
Yeah, I think
students that are
not-
learners of English, not having as much of a strong English support system.
But the
Or
intention, I
if
think,
it's elsewhere, like in our high literacy.
because that is
goals,
the biggest one.
The student learning growth achievement. So I'm wondering, like, this came up in discussion, so where this would live, if it doesn't need to be called out at this level, if it's more granular,
But.
we still want it to be lost.
Those populations.
Yeah,
When we were
It
having
was
a
the same
conversation,
conversation,
and then we were disabilities, maybe we should be, when we are, so, for example, in the
Yeah.
indicator, we're looking at
There's a
early
lot
learning
here about
outcomes
CTE,
for all
there's no indicator
K
that's
sixth grade students, then we need to disaggregate the data. So we were thinking we're gonna look at percent rates, listening, test scores, APs, we said, we mentioned multiple groups, include NEO.
Yeah, and so, and it's kind of, these two, and that kind of, I also want to keep like holding the foot out for, the folks are learning English.
You need to increase access.
What can we do as a district in our plans, maybe for the future, to make sure that we're, giving those kids an opportunity to be literate in that home language, in that original language.
That's almost
Like,
like
that
continue their
part,
learning,
like,
like,
at fourth grade, like, going to fifth grade, and we don't want that, like,
they're not really after the CTE, there was still
just to say, we'll be trying this.
language.
And I wanna know where I'm from, too, when I'm like, I'm here again to talk about like multi-literacy, the multi-language, seal of approval from the state, and how many students are getting that, and if
There are
it's
some
gonna work something.
So I think that needs to be, I was gonna say, so you're saying multi-language literacy, not multi-language learners.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be clear.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I start somewhere and. How do we unlock this on?
Like, you can get your information, like, don't we have things that show?
Yeah, we do. They have a seal.
Yeah, but I don't know, I don't have that seal yet to be like.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have done things that show that we have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just really quick,
Is the.
my daughter got one.
So what about gene indicator
And it
along
got
with
mailed to us.
growth and
Oh.
achievement is
She's in college.
the
So
parallel
it's
programs we
cool,
talk
but
about
it's
all
like,
the time.
right.
Oh, it's really like the timing.
I mean, yeah, she's in college.
I think that's.
Come on, they got this
Programs,
stuff.
has cognitive theater.
Yeah. We got it in the mail. It was like from the
Really
new
that
school
high
district
ball.
that my daughter's already graduated from. So I'm like, what is
Yes,
this?
that, I mean,
Yes.
that's what.
Planning to learn about a seal of approval.
Yeah.
You know, it's either that or something you home or, you know, whatever it is.
Well, we do
You know,
camp, I think, so track it quite nicely, and the more kids
They're engaged, yeah.
earn it, it's quite.
Yeah, and that might, and so there's that, and then there could be something that we're tracking that we're already doing the dual language
I was just
program.
thinking.
That we just started being like, well, let's imagine every elementary school has this. So what does that do track before we actually have it? So just a little bit of, like, this is
Yeah.
future planning.
Yeah.
We want these, there's like, probably, so is there something we can do even at those early levels to say, how many
I don't know how
kids are supported with
it's
these other, language, other students? I got
Maybe that
maybe.
might fit really nicely in the achievement. pillar.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of sketching.
Because then that would kind of dovetail into
I think this
having
cultivate
for, we talked about just like high
that
paying careers,
that
because
sort
when
of
you actually impact them multi-literacy, yes, you're more connected to your community, but also, I mean, if we look at it from an achievement perspective, I think.
Strategies are great. Really, that's wrong.
There's one that.
Oh, I was gonna add one more little spin off on that, so I got you guys from my TLL to like learning the other language from English.
Together to
And then
talk through.
Also in there somewhere, you know, what we
And again,
already do, right, that's like a
intentionally,
science
get
curriculum,
this
it's like,
refined. Our intention surveys, community nights,
translation
where we have chart
right,
paper.
so we've
for the four
identified,
pillars
okay,
of
we have kids
category,
drop in
and
here who
what
don't know English at any level of academics. And we have, you know, everyone's doing their best, and a lot
This
of
is
times
not even
Google
really
translate a
first
lot of
generation
cool
yet.
stuff,
It's a
so that they
draft
have
for us.
access to grade appropriate information in the language that they can understand while they're learning English. And so,
Okay, did we?
something
have
that could
notes?
track like how much
Kinda
students
how we
are
ranked.
either, they can like having academic access.
Oh, yeah, so you guys
Students
comfortable
access
going
to
to any
materials,
business?
you know, through some type of translation or translation, something like that. Because I think you're saying, we keep coming back, that it's either like, efficient use of technology or, you know, skills teachers have to,
Site councils, even
bridge
though
that
they're
gap.
mandated by
And
law.
Technology is something we're not really aware of.
I know. I know.
Yeah, considering half the things you're saying, I just, that's it.
I know, I know.
I think we might want to consider that.
Which I get which way, you know, it's like some of these daunting issues, and I, you know, I ask hard questions to people, like, oh, yeah, we
It's supposed to be-
we're gonna Google AI.
There's some cool AI, there's some developing programs that are already touching, like, they will see how kids are doing, and they will say, they recruit X hours of this recruited, this part and then they just, the rest of the time it's
Recruit
cool,
someone's already there with the
they're
kid.
very focused learning, so they're like, oh, they already know this part, not why they're spending any time on it. So they spend only,
So our leadership teams.
it's just, it's crazy things. that
They're hired by the board, so
So I have one more
they're
clarity
usually
one.
the decision-making.
I will tell you, and I don't, I've brought up before how terrible, Google Translate is for Somali. You know what isn't ChatGPT? Because I had Casey, I'm like, we put complex documents, simple documents, and I said, translate this into Somali. And then he read it, he's like, oh my God, this is crazy, every time. So think about using ChatGPT instead of Google.
And you have that.
I've never thought about ChatGPT.
Isn't that crazy? He was like, no, the grammar's perfect, and it's like, yeah, the one that's.
key translations.
Still learning growth and achievement number, third from the bottom, where it says cultivate and leverage partnerships with diverse community-based organizations, post-secondary institutions, businesses, and industry.
You're making one
The
of the
reason is to ensure students see themselves in highway, type, and college career studies. Okay, I didn't see that for some of these, but like, is that why we partner with CEOs? I don't think so.
Cultivate.
No.
So that doesn't belong there.
Cultivate.
To me, I think there needs to be a separate one around CEOs that has a different purpose, because our purpose isn't to bring them in and be like, you can do their job in a community-based organization, right? It's usually
So we're
to
just like.
really support in a culturally responsive way, you know, that one.
Yeah, it's like this, that, everyone's being broken up into two or three, yeah.
The line doesn't match.
I'm
First indicator there.
like who
increase early literacy outcomes for all pre-K, students. It seems like we should have, how we're gonna measure.
Teachers, like the principals,
How would we know if we
teachers,
increase the
also like
literacy
staff,
outcomes?
parents, breastfeeding members, yeah, so, and it's.
Because we kind of do it on the other ones, just to
Different,
benchmark.
because they all have their own bylaws, and so they can talk about who is the portion. So, you know, that it should just.
It is very,
Yeah.
it can be very problematic, it can be very like, she came up during our news conference. That's something that we're taking right now. So it's a tricky one.
Things for second.
It's certainly should.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're all.
We're gonna have
Hope someone is keeping track.
any more like consistent across.
Preschool for all, that all of a sudden like this, and how those classes are
Well,
different.
yeah,
than
not supposed
these
to.
classes would really have all these behavioral issues, it's all these issues, just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just internal data points on.
There was-
People use it.
I remember there was a guy who used to tell me about like all part time with pre.
I train all the same teachers. But it still looks different. It's still school. And they all have decided
Right now
that
they're in sixth
they
grade.
don't have extra weekly or
Pretty
parents.
cool on like the school music, we're not just gonna get this and that, but. How do we recruit?
How do we listen to
Yeah.
development?
Yeah.
You just-
And I know it's anecdotal, but my kid is
Tough,
was the
sometimes
warshare,
I don't
and
got
got
to parent take that on.
Oh, yeah.
How do we change the system? How do we change our communities? Because we absolutely have change.
like in 1 week,
One side is changed. How do we change that?
it's like, it was like, that's because you by yourself trying to teach your kids a million things, but until they get their
Yeah.
other kids.
Oh, yeah. Then they get another adult telling them to not.
Or like
Parent,
they're-
yeah,
I was just like, strategies.
For improved psychological indicators. Turning away people from.
Oh.
Transitional kindergarten.
Also, I did, are we doing, are there other
Yes.
questions?
No, the last question is, any questions or feedback on board?
So.
First box and core values.
Oh, yes.
Doesn't what?
Emphasis on relationships and.
I had a question about that too, like,
What,
After
that seems
We
clear.
actually have Grammatic County School
I think
Board
it's just
where
probably
people
a-
like submitted their
the
data, they
emphasis on
wrote a little
interpersonal
bio and like community members could vote for like, hey, we
it
have
just seems,
Also,
over
I don't know, for some reason, I wanted words when I did what collaboration means.
But also, like,
You know,
a lot of big barriers going to meetings and attending the meetings, so
And then
that's a way we have to figure out.
this whole
what that looks like.
high expectations of flexibility, needs and rigor, how do those go together?
Citizens and
Like, I
rights.
don't know.
It was a district on the board, actually.
Maybe academic, I don't know exactly what it's.
They've been around. I think we made.
Please join, please. join.
But they all have posted this in like a box together.
So,
kind of like they're not like.
It was-
Well, like, see the flywheel?
See, I can show you.
The poster to
Got
the
it.
right, many of our buildings, classrooms have those, that's the very bottom of that. Yeah. So they've been around, so
Hanging out
it's,
together.
it's time.
and no one is pointing out the
Yeah,
first.
we're talking away, and
And no one pointed out the first box.
And
I'm like,
District, out of that.
and each row kind of exists on its own a little bit in terms of like length and.
Anyway, that's.
Oh, really?
One example. It came out of-
Yeah, the time music.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one. It sounds
Yeah, it was a big group.
I like it too. It's like writing every.
I'm willing to, yeah,
What's that?
I'm willing to.
It's an idea.
raise my hand.
I also don't like the way student-centered focus reads for some reason. I think student-centered is fun.
Okay.
That's what you
To make it
think.
safe, yeah, healthy and safe.
Yeah, so I would add the word academic to rigor. I would explain what we mean by collaboration. Like, who's up for?
Avoid child slash student.
Yeah.
Choose one.
All child slash students.
Disciplinary is hard.
Not the whole child.
Again, not sure about that.
Number, and even many of these.
Developing.
No, I think
We
it's-
definitely wanted that.
Yeah, I know.
That was when the
That
phrase
was,
full
that
child
was
was.
hot language.
Yeah.
That was.
It's an admission to, yeah, foster the whole child.
Yeah.
Because we say whole person, that's what we say.
And it has those two, there's literacy and it has the emotional discipline.
For the indicator on this one.
I was sure that you-
Towards the.
It's very.
Shout, sounding like the
healthcare teachers can, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
You prefer personal things.
I mean, we provide homework.
Or is that?
No.
Sometimes though, we in our part, we can go to these
Yeah.
chart. It's like, what are we,
I know.
let's just say.
Yeah, so I was wondering,
Talk about it, yeah.
just like to connect as you're like the making sure that the indicators are connected to the strategies, maybe if we can, we don't want to get rid of them.
Kind of in a strategy we're talking about.
By how the AI is learning, how we can
It's not gonna happen.
Addressing any behavior.
I think they also can then the format, the way we format it,
Yes.
strategy.
I do wonder.
And when you meet with the community, that's, you know, that's.
Well, that's,
Yeah, it was.
that's where
I
it's really
think-
difficult sometimes because.
Oh, do I need to be in a grid? Oh, okay, like where it's like, yeah, exactly. Yep, that makes sense to me.
As a student as well, can't be, I don't feel safe to get rid of the students, right, and I know you're saying, but we've seen. And so how we word that, and how we measure that, and what that looks like, you gotta be really intentional about it.
I wonder,
Feel safe, okay.
I mean, just about like student,
Yeah, it's very.
the technology. Like, I think that makes me think like,
Yeah, and I'm not saying
I'd
you're
like
not,
saying
I'm just kind of sharing,
that
we're talking
and
about
that's
that.
very social.
That's the easy part.
I don't know if like it's too granular to say like, we are dedicated to having a healthy online environment, like, because we call out, like, of course, reaching out through websites, communications, like, social, maybe something about how we want to have a positive, something about positive social media, positive online.
What do they call it?
Another.
Nice
yes,
ball.
yeah,
Digital well-being.
We can come up with something better, that's the.
It is real, and it is a sign of, like, AI, it is what our students are doing.
Yeah, that's the true well-being.
Well, I was a
For the whole
like
person.
And a high dosage of it.
We
High dosage.
could try to like
Other-
survive the scrutiny of a group like this of right? Because like, technological competence or something about
Yeah.
indicating confidence, something that indicates we are not fearful of this.
Yeah,
We are taking it on for what the value it is. That's what the AI group is all about. Let's see all the amazing things we do and safeguard ourselves from the pitfalls. Kind of, yeah.
So maybe,
Confidence there.
I know earlier was mentioned adding another pillar for staff. And maybe it could be under staff saying that we will develop our own skills
Or model.
and to be able to model and support students.
That's a good way to go about it. You're not gonna get, too far if you have the staff lagging behind the students. While they're trying to get like damaging and do it is already around. And but it will come,
Well, with AI.
Yeah, but and probably, something like half and half or somewhere around there.
Did you mean student safety on that? Or did you mean?
Yeah, I guess it's student safety for like referring to that, but I also want to kind of elevate like.
So I don't know
presence online
if that would need to change or also
You
increase
all have
reach and engagement.
like the monthly,
Yeah.
communications,
Yeah.
the communications, but also like
That are
supporting, like I see online on Instagram,
that would be.
student body president, like he has a great presence and it's positive and it's not like there's no bullying, or just kind of
Emails,
calling
like,
out.
are we still sending
I'm
out
not
that
sure
are
if
not,
it fits in here, but I
reports
do
from
want
parents?
to because I think it elevates the importance of what you do
No parent view.
online, which
Right.
gets a lot of engagement, like that's how we can reach our
Parents.
students.
Which one's the? Oh, there's
Yeah.
parent engagement. So I get like the
Indicator,
the emails.
Which
that
is hard for
say
me to ask
summary of
what they're on.
Parent score, but it
is
is.
that kind of where you're seeing emails ever?
I like
the
very
very
strategy
because
because
of the
indicator.
I didn't think so.
I know, I just practically, we have Instagram, Facebook, something like YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh.
YouTube is.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, and I think that digital, we as adults,
That separately, yes.
we have to model, so we can learn our own skills, so we can
versus
emails. It's all
learn how to
kind of-
navigate
That's
those.
all. Somebody's talking to me about like, oh, you know, I get all the emails, and they're not a parent in the district.
4 more minutes.
Ken,
Or middle
4 more
school.
minutes. Like, I don't think anybody outside of being a
Social
district
media.
connected person,
Huge.
I was-
either being a parent or
It
employee,
just-
would get emails
If
in
kids,
any way.
The social fabric of the middle school life.
Yeah.
No, and
It's
it's
still,
yeah,
still
if, yes,
It's
if it was away, they are in this, are.
I'm just thinking about that, I don't think it goes out, like,
Because they've been working through.
yeah, it will, at the end of the day, you can have a summary, but it's on Parent Square.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever get emails.
Like physically, emotionally,
Like all
socially.
passes to parents.
Yeah.
Whether in the real
That makes a
world
ton of sense.
or whatever
Yeah.
we're calling it.
Now, we used to look
Why
at
is that whole
to
section
our new partners, anytime we do a district-wide message to.
We did discuss a little in our initial conversation, during COVID, but
Well, we start talking about the real
we said,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, when we say physical,
physical.
you know, that could be.
All our principals.
This is apparently like the graduates, this is what it is, so they were like outside of.
I would clear the
And it was,
space.
it's not, it wasn't like a real conversation, but you they just mentioned it, I was like.
I'm not sure. That's again where I get lost in, you know, how.
And there was the same person's also.
I think it's a good
So if I didn't see
allocation.
that, now I get that email.
Some, there are some that are a little more.
Like, I just thinking about it.
I have no idea.
Like, if somebody wanted to know something about,
And I also want to call out, I know it's really
yeah,
easy to
sharing
look
out.
at something that's already
it's pretty much, you have to be
So-
either on social media or,
There's so much work. in it.
Yeah, seriously, that's some plans.
Yeah.
or go to our website.
Well, you know,
See, but yeah.
Messaging is really.
ChatGPT.
so, there you
Not
go.
just here.
Here, these are-
Great, yes.
I do it all the time at work.
I know, ask for it.
And I'm like, no, you're an idiot, you made a mistake there. And I go, oh, you're so right.
I know, I don't disagree with everything you say. Oh, you're right. That's a great point.
So some comments are- Yeah.
Nobody has fights in
Oh.
it. Feel like you're wrong. No, you're wrong.
Yeah, oh, really?
Just about like.
It's kind of this mixed message.
There are times when I'm just like, yeah, someone will say, well, for example, okay, we're gonna have a budget reduction exercise, survey that's needed for our ODHS partners, we want to, it's got repeat partners, and ask like, oh, I'm like, first of all, that sucks. I ask people, how much more should we cut and where, and what are the values we should use while doing it, and what way should we do it, and how's your capacity right now, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I put it in there and gave some really good ideas.
Okay,
Better than I could have.
so I'm curious how
And irritations or,
Mhm.
yeah, so it gets you thinking in a different way, but then I don't use it for to do that.
Right.
Hey buddy.
Especially
for
families that don't use Parent Square. Any final comments, feedback, questions? Before the team come back together?
I think the still think positive is right the business.
So much. I think we looked at this again, a week or find out.
That's my question is, you know, in what way are you gonna get?
I think we do have, I think everything is in Parent Square, I think. I mean,
Because there's a lot past.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
You don't need to have.
Yeah, that's something that we need to be discussing during cabinet.
You guys talking and.
Yeah, we want to do
Summarize.
focus groups, to be able to have more rich conversations with, or even.
I really like, like,
Yeah.
the color, the equity statement.
when you have a high schooler, you're good.
Yeah,
Like, you got that small spot.
I don't think they
There
care.
you go. Doesn't matter till high school.
So like if you do that, they'll probably come up with a lot of the
No, I
similar
walked on, I was
strategies
like,
that are
oh,
here.
thank you.
They might come up with ones that we haven't thought about that are really important.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion, because I think any more level down or
Yeah.
here are the ones we came up with, what do you think?
That
I
is,
think
that is a question.
it's gonna
Social
feel
media,
hard.
is it healthy, is it not?
Right.
We want to.
That's my suggestion.
Would you,
It's got a lot of
Does that for like the core values too?
Yeah.
Like, are we starting kind of from scratch with core values and be like, what are the core values? What should be, like, I mean,
I don't think they meant to do that, but I do want to do it.
Okay.
well, I think it's like, I mean, you do like engagement, maybe like making it as like high level
That
size.
yeah, right, this is
Yeah,
like
capture
the
those.
most family
Exactly.
that
Like,
we're-
whatever.
that's not it, it's
And then someone's gonna come up with high expectations with flexibility. to
Clear,
individual
clear.
needs. Yeah, okay. But, Yeah. Yeah, I like.
I think that's open to like, like.
But it's, yeah, I think it's about pillars,
Yeah.
it used to happen, and it's,
If we have that, would say events, and then everything else is conversation.
secret kids. What is it called?
Okay, what's your approach on like engaging families or, effort?
Yeah, so what we did, for integrated plan, when we were in the phase of gathering input and
I
feedback.
mean, I like it as a
last year,
strategy, I think it looks at the high school a lot.
We
especially
went
with,
to existing
When
groups
they put like, put on the basketball workshops and stuff like
students,
that, but I think there's
staff,
a lot of room
and
for
families.
just like
folks
that don't
trying to
have-
hit every single vocal group.
experience with going like applying to and like thinking about college and stuff. You're not engaging with families in freshman year, it's like, it's a loss. It's so much to build, you know, to be college ready, it
Yeah,
doesn't start senior
we
year
met with
or even
people,
junior year, you gotta be there. You really do. You
I
have to think
remember
about
when we met
colleges
with,
require.
we met with a lot of those at the middle and high school level. Students, we met with all the, family groups, we get input, especially partners. We invite partners to the family ones.
But even if
And then
even
for
if
the
it's just a line,
student
it also
groups,
aligns
we
to
invited,
most of
for
the
example, the high
CP
schools,
still
we
have to
invited
go
partners
into
that
support
those specific.
think about like what you
Supporting
teach
teachers,
you
ready
ready.
group of students, we invited them. So for example, when we did one with kids to, sometimes they come to the high school, we're an advisor, the advisor, we invited.
Yeah, because I think even with math, I think it's one of those areas that I say, don't realize that like, you come out of high school, and you're not for college ready, it doesn't really matter if you're going into like nutrition or whatever your grades are, you'll math
And
for
we did,
a
we
while.
had one by itself with our
So to get into it.
community partners, our community partner summit, like the one you attended this year. From
We set up this like, that they're the opposite of all the time, like trades, work.
We did some with the universities.
Everything now.
And maybe,
But don't.
I know time was up. Families that's
Yeah.
with special needs.
One of the things is around changing market is like parent, community education.
I'm happy that
Not tomorrow night.
I'm thinking it's like,
Asking parents, like, would you be interested in a workshop
We don't
on
give-
math in
give
2025, you know, or do you want a workshop on childcare education standards, or we used to do.
Yeah, we don't-
But
that's good.
That's parenting classes on like love and logic, you know, I mean, just like asking families, like, is there like education you want as a person, are you interested in?
November.
And that's something to bring
Make sure I
like,
can
it's
find
adult
it.
education.
All of us.
I haven't done
It's really
that.
about
I know.
as a parent.
But how does that-
I got invited to all of them last year, and I got like 3 times, and then I got invited by mistake.
But they like having you there.
But
I think I'll
she
go.
sends the invite to cabinet and board.
Yeah, but I've never received
this issue.
Well,
Okay.
I had not gotten one this year. And the thing is, I sent Miss Tiffany, so I was surprised that she, last time I sent her an email, and I got all that. This year I haven't. Then I turned away with that one.
We haven't until November.
Well, that's good, because
So I will,
I do.
I have all the dates for the year. I have the calendar, so what I'll do is I'll send.
I appreciate it. Just like you're running the great volume. I would suggest.
It's nice about talking that way, is that people
I haven't navigated.
will be brainstorming about strategies, so when we get very granular, and some of that is easy and
And the
action
action.
later. It's
Really accessible. We assume it's accessible. We think it's-
Thank you.
It's not. How do I, yeah.
And if you think of anything else, this document that you have.
I did it.
And then I.
Should we just like do something or do some stuff?
So our group is ready.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been ready.
Good talking.
Yes, thank you so much.
I just had one.
I just wonder what this looks like from the street. There's-
I know. I know. That's okay.
was gonna say, when you were gonna say.
Just gonna double check it has
Okay. So anyone, we didn't have time to discuss, but anyone wants to share some highlights from your conversation or from the group conversation from our team or the other group?
Share one thing. We came up with a fifth pillar.
Number 5.
Yeah, because the 4 pillars we get are tied to an integrated plan, so we don't wanna change that. But we saw there will be comments about staff not being anywhere in our strategic plan, and we think that's important. But instead of just adding them in a place where it doesn't really go with what they're asking for the integrated plan, make a 5th pillar that doesn't interfere with that, that is about staff and safety and things that we want to do to support our staff. I think I like that idea.
Anyone else? Anyone from the other group?
Was group 2 the only one that came up with an idea?
Pretty much.
I mean, I could chat GPT assembly if I know.
I'm ready to go.
I know such
You need
ideas.
it.
Back to that, our group kind of brought that up as well, and then we landed on, and not that it's a great idea, well, we can do that, but we landed on, or we talked about that last pillar, health and environment. Students and staff will be physically, emotionally, and socially safe, positive school climates that promote division. So we kind of, okay, staff are represented there, but you're thinking, or the team 2's thinking kind of more than that, or just staff specific, or like pulling staff out of that and having a separate, or having staff there, and I'm just trying to, I love the idea, I'm trying to make sure I understand.
Sure, we had some places where we're like, yeah, that's sort of in there.
Yeah.
Tied to that, a goal of academics or a goal of, safe environment. But when we're talking about really supporting our staff,
Okay.
like the way a union would look and say,
Yeah.
oh, I see myself here, or also, what else? I feel like there are a bunch of
Professional
ideas,
development.
professional
So like pulling
development.
the PD out of that instructional
A little
line, just
bit,
anything
yeah.
with staff.
Also,
Okay.
that there was a really, major focus around staff in the equity plan. And none of that is really embedded in this new one in the same way. And so I think pulling out some of those strategies and putting them back in a staff oriented.
Yeah, I think the comment was made that if a staff member just looks up through this, that they have a hard time finding where they're represented. And we wanted to make it very clear, we are represented, and we care about our staff. These are the things we want to do to take care of our staff.
And like, if we have somebody, this can be an expression of how we want it to be like when you are employed at the district. You'll be well trained, you'll be well supported, you'll feel safe in the classroom. You'll, reflect the community or learn about the community, so just an opportunity to have that as the goal.
Some of the strategic hiring plan stuff, but some of the things that equity focused stuff that was in there.
Anyone else from the other group? You don't have to, we have 5 minutes. And I want to share the next steps.
I think we've talked about a couple different things. I'll just give just from our notes, a high level overview, but like on equity, belonging, and student voice, how do we ensure that's across all levels? Like secondary shows up a lot there, but how are we getting even elementary voice? And what does that look like? Maybe bringing in facilities to that conversation too, that kids deserve safe, welcoming spaces to learn. So bringing that in as well. Student growth and achievement, bringing in, and I'm not going to say everything, but bringing in, we talked about CTE, but really talking also about arts, athletics, extracurricular music. Some of those kinds of things. Community engagement, elevating the work of site councils, ensure that the school leadership groups are really representative and bring in parents or community places. And then under healthy and safe environment, just given the testimony and everything that we had at our last board meeting, that we really need to be explicit around high needs behavior, and goals and leads to all the safety and everything. But also we want to bring in nurturing other part of it, some of this work.
Well,
That's
thank-
sort of taking notes for our team right there.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT.
I was like, our summary
Do it.
said the group discussed ensuring the district goals and indicators clearly align with its mission, emphasizing the need to explicitly include and define what all students need, and to better integrate professional learning and staff support, potentially through a fifth pillar focused on staff. They identified gaps in clarity and representation, such as equitable grading, technology, multilingual literacy, preschool, and arts access, while suggesting adjustments to pillars in terminology, such as family and community engagement, whole person language. Finally, the group highlighted the importance of intentional equity language, community and family engagement, particularly for students with disabilities, and adaptable plans responsive to emergent needs. ChatGPT right there.
And let me just, you said preschool, and I wanna say, I just found out that we asked for more funding to increase our preschool by 7 classes. Very happy about this.
Yes.
Thank you. This is very good, so good.
Okay, so thank you everyone for having those rich conversations. Everything that you shared is very helpful for us to continue improving and just updating our strategic plan. For next steps for us, we as a cabinet, we are going to review your input and continue updating this plan. We want to gather stakeholder, family, and just community, student engagement, give us input on our plan. One of our board members shared some ideas on how we could do that. We are planning to do focus groups with different groups, focus group for students, all levels, for families, staff, and community partners. We're also in cabinet, we discussed the idea of potentially doing a survey that we have to gather input on our strategic or updated strategic plan. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions? Ken, do you want to add anything, or any cabinet member, if you want to add anything? I know we've been discussing this for quite some time now.
Yeah, it's really taking this feedback one, getting to our next iteration, I don't even know if we call it rough draft yet, but, just continue to evolve the iterations till we start the community focus groups, task force, how we want to word it, from specific meetings to schools, to parent conferences, maybe tables where they can just give quick input. And you mentioned staff as well, giving staff opportunity to give feedback on this, really including our union leadership, kind of the conversation directly, specifically with them and labor management and other, and then thinking about surveying the staff. So, whether it's groups of staff, surveys of staff, so all the way around, our next steps is continuing that iteration and starting to get more and more feedback. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, thank you for all this. Yeah, this is- I like it.
Thank you.
I like it.
All right, so we'll adjourn the regular session.
5-minute break. Paul.
Yeah, 5-minute break. We'll reconvene in view. We're not live, yeah.